Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co-host, Mino Pachan, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast, episode 29.
29 on your mind one time.
Yeah, slowly climbing up, man.
Yeah, man.
Getting there.
Slowly rising to the top.
Last week's episode, we pretty much talked about Asperger's syndrome and autism. So if you want to go ahead and give that a listen, check that out. That was last week's episode.
Yep, on the spectrum.
Yep. And this week, we're going to be talking about boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I know you got some things you like to share, Mr. Eric, so go ahead. What we talking about?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. We've been doing a lot of episodes on, technical stuff and, maybe covering topics that aren't necessarily personal to us, but we know that are, out there and that need to be covered as far as mental health goes. But this one I thought was really a lot more relatable, and I just felt the need to kind of do it because it's something I think we all kind of can have struggles with, right? And that's boundaries, particularly in relationships, but just boundaries, period. Setting them in our lives and adhering to them. And I think a lot of that stems from, the way we were raised. I think if you looking back in the day, like how many times did we get told to, hey, go hug such and such, hey, give such and such a kiss, hey, give such and such a hug, and we didn't actually want to do it, or just follow this rule, do it because I say. We didn't feel necessarily even that we had agency, to want and desire, certain things, or that what we want or desire really even mattered. And I don't know if that's something that was exclusive to African American families, having to give your aunties and everybody else kisses and all that stuff. I don't know if y'all did that,
Yeah, it's not really. We're always we do this thing where it's like we do this thing where it's like when you greet the elders or whatever, where you kind of bow your head and you put your hands like a prayer together.
Mm-hmm.
So we get told to go do that. Or hug grandma, whatever.
Yeah, hug grandma,
obviously.
hug such and such. Go do this. So again, as a kids, we're just kind of being told, "Hey, do this. Touch, be held by this. Feel this. Be okay with this. Do it because I said so."
My mom would always make me want to. My mom would always tell me to say please and thank you, but in like a very
extra formal way.
Yeah, extra formal way, and it was kind of embarrassing. Why can't I just say thank you? So I could do the extra, Like that's how, and that's the weird thing too, because I see it in my mom. She's very old school from the, from her homeland. So when I hear her talk to like her elders, like people who are a little bit older than her, like the way she talks is very, like, very formal and polite. The kind of things you would see in a movie if someone was addressing royalty.
Oh wow! Okay.
It's like that's how she talks. It's very nice and polite. And it translates to when she's trying. She doesn't speak the best English, but she'll say enough for you to understand. But while she's doing it in a polite tone and a smile on her face, no matter what it is. Like I can't do that. To me, I wanted to say, "Mom, that's just corny," but that's how she is.
That's how she was raised. That's all she knows.
That's how she was raised.
And again, of course, that's what she passes on to you and thinks you have to do that too, because. One of the things about boundaries and where we're bad at, having healthy ones and establishing good ones is because we're not taught how to do it. That's not something that our parents really taught us how to do. And then we're taught if we want to have boundaries, or sometimes we feel bad about that. It's particularly in our family. That's very hard to, establish. And so that can lead to a lot of, toxic relationships, in people. So you can attract people that necessarily take advantage of people with boundary issues. Instead of not being bad with instead of being bad with just establishing their own boundaries, those could be the type of people that really just violate other people's boundaries. That's their thing. They have boundary issues the reverse way, always extra. And so that can lead to parasitic and toxic relationships. You're such a giving person, well then that's where a taker's going to go, and then it become kind of a a symbiotic and real toxic thing for you if you don't have healthy boundaries. And so it's a lot of times people take on too much responsibility. I've been definitely guilty of that, feeling like you can't say no, being a yes man and stuff like that, especially when it's for a good cause or a good place. I know some people out there that are heavily involved in their church, very probably even too heavily, or their religious institution. They find themselves taking on a lot of responsibility. Or even back in school, man, the people that always get stuck with the group project work. Yeah, those people who are considered the responsible one, or okay, they'll do it. They always take on more than they should, and that's it leads to stress on that person, leads to poor work performance, leads to a lot of things, and it can result in a lot of self blame. And so because you don't say no, because you don't want to be the nice person, because you want to be accommodating, you don't want to rock the boat, you end up taking on these responsibilities. But then that leads to, if something goes wrong or when things don't turn out well, then it leads to a lot of self-blame and, shame. You're bad at having boundaries and establishing boundaries, and then you feel bad for letting other people violate those boundaries. And you can end up making excuses for a lot of the bad behavior that people give you, in your life. If you're in an abusive relationship, all of a sudden, we've all kind of heard about it at least. The woman making excuses, well, it's my fault. He wouldn't put his hands on me if I'd have done such and such. That leads to a lot of other issues in life, or it can be part of a lot of other social disorders. Like again, narcissism, as we've covered, borderline personality disorder. We had a previous episode and a guest who was with that. Again, boundary issues. That's very common with borderline personality disorder because they have abandonment issues. They have fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. And so they're afraid to set boundaries sometimes for fear they could lose those relationships. So I was like,
that's pretty deep. Because then, it ends up hurting yourself even more.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're taking on, like you said, taking on more than, you can chew. And next thing you know, deadlines aren't being met. You're getting frustrated. You're taking it out on other people when it's your fault. Mm-hmm. And then now you're blaming yourself and you're blaming this. And it's
a cycle.
It snowballs.
Yeah, it's just a very destructive cycle.
That's why I never really thought about boundaries like that. To me, it was always like, hey, you're in my space.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes deeper than that.
Yeah.
Mental it's not
space.
Just like, man, it's not like this guy. I guess for me, growing up, I was a really huggy person. So every time I saw somebody, I had to give them a hug. And as I got older, not everybody wants a hug, like they're not comfortable with a hug or something like that. But it was just me. And then there's somebody else that's always be like, it's a little too touchy. Always got to touch somebody, like, you know what I mean? You know somebody is always like that. Got to touch a shoulder, got to touch your back, something.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Handshake, all that. So it's like, hey. Just a little too touchy.
Yeah, exactly. Personal space boundaries, not understand that, or on the flip side of it, intentionally violating boundaries.
That's another.
Yeah, exactly. There's the other, extreme of it like that too. And again, I did some looking up a little bit of research. Shout out to Med Circle and Dr. Ramani. She was kind of who I used for the narcissist episode as well. This lady breaks down, stuff great, and she had these 9 signs of poor boundaries. One of the first signs she said was the inability to make decisions. Like if you have poor boundaries, then you're afraid to kind of make decisions because you're afraid of like, oh, what if something bad happens? That whole getting blamed thing, that whole internalizing. You're taking on perhaps, more than you want to. You're making decisions about things that you may not necessarily want to do, and it can like leave you in a paralyzing place. And so it's not just okay, I'm gonna do this or work with time management. So again, if you had healthier boundaries, you'd be able to make a decision between, hey, I can help with this, but I can't help with that. All right, I can't take on this new writing assignment or this new work assignment until I get done with this one. I'm not going to be able to do this along with that. When you have poor boundaries, you end up trying to do it all, or taking on or being afraid to let people down, and so again, not making decisions. So an inability to make decisions. The second one was, it kind of goes along with this too, being a people pleaser. I think we all know something about that. My personality type is a 9, in the Enneagram test. My personality type is a 9, which is a peacemaker. I like a calm environment, keep the, water cool, everything like that. I don't like to rock the boat. I like everybody to be cool. But at the same time, that leads me to, violating, my boundaries and things that I necessarily am comfortable with. It kind of leads me to denying what I'm comfortable with, denying myself and suppressing myself. Being a people pleaser, it ends up you thinking about others or putting others' needs and wants before yourself, which is denying yourself, denying, your person, and, suppressing, yourself. And that always has bad consequences that comes out in other ways. And so it's, it causes you to do things that you really don't want to do, when you're trying to please others and just, worried about with them and, make them comfortable. It's going to cause you to stay out later than you want to, give more rides to people, and stay out later, or just do too much. Okay, you want to stop at 1, but no, they want to have 2. All right, I want to leave, but you suppress yourself. You want to be the nice one, and there's something to that where it becomes an identity for you. Oh, the nice guy in the group. Oh, okay, he'll do it. You know. Oh yeah, you're such a nice guy. Thanks, such and such. Hey, we really need this. I know you'll help us. Hey, I really need to move, or you can, you know. And so you want to keep that identity as the nice person or the nice guy or the nice girl. But at the same time, that's going to breed resentment when you aren't getting that same energy back. When other people have better boundaries than you, or or they just are those type of people that take advantage, of people with poor boundaries.
So pretty much don't go broke for people that won't be there when you're broke.
Mm, message. Yeah, I mean, there's that. This can manifest a lot of ways. Like again, you're gonna see a little bit of something that we've all kind of done. I've definitely stayed out way later, given more rides, done a lot more stuff that I probably should have. When if it was up to me, I probably just would have went home. Um, and this leads to again number 3, like excessive fatigue, because you're taking on everyone's burdens. You're going to have excessive fatigue when you're taking on everyone's, taking care of everyone but yourself. Now this can be very difficult. Like if you're a caretaker, if you're like you have elderly parents or something like that, or like again, my son's only 3 months old, so you know you can't really say, hey, I need my personal time right now, infant, things like that. So you're going to be taking care of, but it's important to, in the midst of taking care of everyone else, you can't forget to take care of yourself, because you're going to, kind of get.
Always put yourself first. Believe me, you'll feel a lot better and your life will be a lot happier. Put yourself first, all times.
hmm I've heard it put like this. The most positive way I ever heard it was, always take care of your star player.
You are numero uno. You the one. Be the one. People don't thank themselves enough, I have to say this. I was gonna, you know what? I'm gonna save that rant for the let's talk about it section.
All right, okay, all right, I got you. Calm it down now, Mita. Whew, whew. No, that's what's up though. But no, I like what did 50 Cent say way back in the day, like when he won them awards or whatever. Give me a second. I'm gonna keep it real. I like to thank me.
Exactly.
That was dope.
My G.
Yeah, exactly. So again, when you're not thanking yourself, you're not taking care of yourself. You're busy, taking care of everyone else, running around, all that stuff. It's gonna wear you out. Um, number 4, number 4 sign of poor boundaries: endless guilt about the small things. You have a lot of guilt. Yeah. I told you this is gonna hit home. Oh yeah, hit dogs holler.
And that's for my people with anxiety. Y'all know y'all
Man.
obsess over the little details,
Man.
the little, man, did he really mean what they said at work today? And you be thinking it all the way till like for a week. And man, just let it go. But nah, not us. Not us anxiety folk.
Nope.
We be obsessing over it.
Yeah, and because it's the little things too you're trying to do. Again, maybe it's done in the name of I'm just trying to get ahead. Oh, if I can just impress, do something this for that person, they'll appreciate it. Whatever it's in the workplace or romantically, whatever it is, trying to get some favor with somebody. All right, I'm just doing these all extra little things, but if it doesn't get you the desired results, then all of a sudden you're mad. You're trying to impress others. It's kind of a means to an ends, but at the same time, it's debilitating you. It's hurting you. You know, And one of the ways it's hurting you, again, is number 5, sign that you have poor boundaries. You a lost sense of self. You get, you start losing who you are. You start, you know, your identity kind of gets lost. One of the funniest things was in the Let's Talk About It episode we just did, and we asked Steve how he is, and he says, "Oh yeah, man, we just got back. My daughter just got back from this tournament or whatever at the U of M. You know, volleyball is doing great. She's doing. It was like, start laughing. He's like, "Yep, you asked me about myself, and I started talking about my daughter. All right." I was like, that can happen to parents a lot. You can get absorbed in your role in your life and your identity as a parent, and you get lost into who you are. So again, I don't think that's what Steve is going through, but that's just an example though. Like literally, how many people get so, my life is my kids type of thing.
And ain't nothing wrong with that.
I know there's nothing wrong with it, but when you lose yourself, because here's the thing, once that's what the problem. Like people will be having issues when they're empty nested.
Yep.
That's the problem. When the kids do grow up, you do have to be you yourself.
Strip away the title of whatever it is, husband or whatever. Who are you at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
And it's easy to get lost. When you're so about doing something for other people.
Yeah.
That's why I always say, gotta do things for yourself.
You got to love yourself.
Because if you're expecting something in return, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So it's. Do it for yourself, always for yourself.
Yeah, the right reasons, the right things for the right reasons. And, you don't want to be existing only for your job, existing only for your role, your title, your relationship. Even again, those are good things. No, those are very good things, but no.
You guys understand how much pressure you put on somebody when your whole source of happiness is their other significant other?
Boy.
That's a lot of pressure on somebody, I can't be the only source of your happiness. I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't be the only thing in your life that keeps you going every morning.
Man.
I can't be the only thing.
I know somebody out there is, catching the Holy Ghost here and that. Like, they talking about, Lord. You got a witness out there, Mino, believe me, when you just said that, because you can't, that's so easy to do. And it starts off kind of cute. Oh, they want to be all up under you or something like that. But no, man.
Phase, yeah, it's cute.
You wanna have the ability, again, speaking to just relationship side, to get caught up in whatever your significant other is doing, what they got kind of going on. That's always kind of cool to see too. You got to have your own life, because like you said, the pressure, you described it perfectly. That's too much pressure, and especially I know as guys sometimes we feel need to entertain your woman all the time. Like she need to be entertained all the time. Like no. It's too much pressure for you to just no.
Like I was watching this episode with my wife and kids, and there's an episode where his wife needed a job, so he offered it to her to work with this company. But then you think about it, it's like, I wake up, I'm right next to you. I go to work, you're right there with me. I'd eat lunch, you're sitting there having lunch with me. I come home, you're here. I want to go take a shit, you're there. Stuff like that. I'm like, yo. Like, think about it. To be with somebody and sharing every single aspect of your life, where's your escape?
Where's the boundaries? Where's the boundaries?
I mean, I've been in relationships where this person is just clingy, and everybody knows that gets annoying. You need your space, and for them to say, "Oh, but I want to be with you all the time," like, no, you don't. Like,
no, you don't.
You gotta have your own hobbies, live your own lifestyle. Don't give up everything. Like, that's wild. I can't, because if it don't work, now what? You change your whole life to match exactly somebody else's life that you don't really truly enjoy. You're just doing it for them and not for you.
Because when you have poor boundaries and difficulty with boundaries, that means you're having difficulties with intimacy and empathy. Where we talked about in the narcissist episode, empathy. You're having difficulties, with that stuff. Whether it's you're feeling, too much or, not enough, or, keeping things at well, let's just go right to it. Number 6, the number 6 sign of poor boundaries by Dr. Ramani is oversharing. People that overshare. Sharing, should be based on trust. What you share and privacy and things like that, that should be based on trust. You shouldn't share everything with everybody. You shouldn't trust everybody. And so people who have difficulty with the boundaries, sometimes they're using that kind of oversharing as a way to kind of gain some, common ground or some empathy from that person because they're, maybe frightened or intimidated, you know. But it's, they don't, even with your therapist, like my my therapist, one of the first things he said to me, everybody doesn't deserve your vulnerability. I know we're on this podcast being vulnerable and stuff like that. It's on purpose for change, but everybody doesn't deserve, all of you, everything about you, where there's physical boundaries, you shouldn't be sleeping with everybody, right? You shouldn't just do everything with everybody at the end of the day. Some things are just not safe. Emotionally, you shouldn't have such an emotional investment in everybody, right? You can't, right? We kind of understand these things, intuitively. However, some of us struggle with it more than others. And, one of those ways that people do kind of, if they're intimidated, scared, have the anxiety or whatever, again, that oversharing, sharing things inappropriately with the wrong people, and again, this is stuff that could really cost that person, you know.
Everybody's different. Everyone's comfort level is different. Like for me, you guys have heard me share many deep, deep things that I go through. And me personally, I don't care who knows. Because if someone else is going through the same thing, can't speak up or afraid to, well, there's my story. See if it helps you.
Yep.
Like I'm not saying that it's whatever. I honestly don't care what people think. Like your thoughts mean nothing to me. If it's gonna be negative, if it's a positive thing, cool. I'm just sharing my story. You don't have to listen. You don't have to like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Either way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that comfort level with me is just going through so much, I could just say, mental battles, and to a point where you just get frustrated and you
Mm-hmm.
just you grow from it. You learn about yourself, and like you said, you find out your boundaries, what you're comfortable with, and you go from there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You got to find them sometimes. We don't. It's not the most natural thing. Sometimes for those who struggle. And the main thing really with the oversharing thing is you shouldn't be sharing what you shouldn't with those who haven't earned it. So like you said, we're being vulnerable, about our lives and stuff like that, talking about, mental health, mental illness to bring awareness, and it's on purpose. But the agreement is you listen as the audience. You're the volunteers. You had to tune into this. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And so there you go. We've earned that relationship. That's part of the agreement. Like with your therapist too. Again, this is very important. You shouldn't just be sharing everything with your therapist probably like right away, all the most intimate stuff. No, man, you got to build a relationship, you know. That just like that therapist probably, as you get your relationship, becomes more and more, they have to ethically practice, boundaries for them to share what to say more and less to you as well. So that's something that's just very important even on that level professionally. Yeah, you can share certain things with your therapist because there's a thing called a non-disclosure agreement that you've signed. You know, you don't have that with everybody outside of those legally binding contracts and relationships and professional help that we seek in the everyday world out here. You have to be discerning. You have to be very discerning with what you share and who you share it with. So I'm gonna keep that real broad like that. And then number 7, you have resentment towards others for their boundaries. When you have poor boundaries and you see somebody with good boundaries and you want to be like them and you mad.
And you mad.
Exactly. You think that they're being what? Well, how come you won't take on this project? Because they're like, I got too many. And when that's something you want to say,
it sounds silly, but
but
hey,
yeah,
we go through it.
There you go.
You know.
Absolutely. And so yeah, we have resentment towards that stuff, and so that builds up frustration with others and their boundaries. It kind of becomes more of a instead of taking a note, instead of like trying to you know let that challenge bring you up. It's more of, again, a frustration, a lashing out of you're just mad at it, resentful, And again, can mess up relationships. And again, this goes right into number 8. This is something, again, is my personality type. I do struggle with. See a lot of this in me. The number 8 sign that you have poor boundaries is passive aggressiveness. Yes, because again, if you have boundaries, sometimes you're not confrontational. That's the hardest thing to do. That would be a boundary you're putting up. However, things manifest, frustrations manifest themselves in a lot of different passive aggressive ways. Instead of lashing out, you go to the exact opposite. You stonewall emotionally. You just shut down. You just check out. I know when I read that, I was like, okay, you're just going to read my mail like that. I dealt with that in my last relationship, where I would, again, just wasn't present. Instead of enforcing boundaries, instead of confronting those things I was uncomfortable with, it was so much easier for me to just shut down emotionally. It was so much easier for me to just do, small things, again, passive aggressive things that will either irritate your partner, mess with them, whatever it is. And let's be very clear, we do it on the job as well. We're unhappy with certain things that's going on, feel we've been done wrong, whatever it is, we're passive aggressive there too. Sometimes we don't do all we could. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't just the job. Sometimes it's our reaction, to that environment and to that place. It's passive aggressive. And again, it prevents us from getting ahead in relationships. It can prevent us from getting ahead professionally, because that takes a lot of energy too. It takes a lot of energy to suppress. It takes a lot of energy to, again, go along to get along, be the nice person, be the nice guy. So I said this episode was, I didn't have to get so clinical on this one as like last ones, and describing, Asperger's and describing narcissist personality disorder and describing all these other things. This one was kind of like, man, this is still the list that I'm still working on with my therapist. So it's almost just like I'm sharing. This was a reminder of where I'm at. And I'll share a story a little bit later. It reminds me, it was brought up by something that happened, in Vegas. I just got back from Vegas, and as I'm leaving Vegas, boundary issue hit me. So I was like, you know what? This episode has to happen. And again, the last one, to cap it off, the 9th sign of poor boundaries is fear of rejection or abandonment. Again, I mentioned it with the borderline personality disorder. That's one of the, things. Yes, fear of rejection or abandonment. That's one of the reasons you don't want to maybe enforce boundaries or put up healthy boundaries, because you're fearing how people are going to react to it. I can definitely relate to that one, because if you have been so nice, if you have been saying yes for so long, everybody's been thinking it's cool. When it finally does blow up, when it finally does come out, it's like, dang, and then you're kind of afraid. All right, are you still cool? Is it all right that I don't want to do that? Is it all right that I said that? And you find yourself, again, apologizing. Apologizing for others, maybe bad reactions to you, attacks on you, or whatever it is, but you're internalizing it because, well, I took it on. Well, I should have said something. Well, I should have. When, it's just something I know for me, I was confronted with it, that part a lot, recently. So I'm be listening to this episode back for myself. And my therapist, like, hey, man, we still got a lot of work to do, man. Still got a whole bunch of work.
Ongoing battle.
Yeah, man, we're in the battle. It's just, real stuff, and I got a good reminder. Hey, in addition to the other things that I got going on, working on, this is something that's definitely needed, because I'm going through literally a life change where I'm a parent now, and not just that, but a co-parent. So that's like boundary city. You're supposed to like I need to literally figure out boundaries, like they have to be enforced, or things can go left, and higher consequences than just myself. There's a whole nother life.
Speaking of that little one, how is he doing?
Oh, beautiful, man. Just posted a couple pictures of him. He's beautiful. Yeah. Everybody's saying he look kind of like my mama, look kind of like my uncle, look kind of like me, So no, he's growing, man. He's 3 months, by the time this comes out. So
man,
moving and shaking and starting to smile.
How's fatherhood been treating you?
Oh, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And and that's why I said I need to work on my boundary issues, because it's not just me at stake. I need to make sure that's straight for him too, because the decisions I'm making, if I can't be better with that, I can't be, in this sense, I can't blame anybody else, man. If this negatively affects my son,
It's
his
you.
future, anything going forward, hey, man, if I'm my boundaries,
It's
all
you,
I can
baby.
say is my boundaries wasn't good. And so it was kind of a wake up call with that. And again, the mother of my child, me and Bria, we gotta, figure out our boundaries and stuff. It's very important, and that's very difficult when you was, in a relationship previously, but not currently. There's distance there, and you got to figure out where the lines are, so they don't get crossed. So, and sometimes things happen where you get checked, and this happened to me. So, I was leaving Vegas, and right before I left, like in a little gift shop, waiting because I was like 12-hour layover. I got terrible traveling weekend, and it wasn't just me. I know some of y'all relate. Crazy layover, so I'm bored. Go through the gift shop, and I remember like a year earlier in June, I was in Vegas, and I bought her when we were together, and she asked me to buy her a shirt, and I bought her a shirt, but I got it was not the right size for her. And I remember I was feeling kind of bad because I was like, dang, I just kind of got the shirt, didn't look at it, that great, just the design, not for like the fit or anything. And so when I was in the gift shop, I remembered, okay, shirt, yeah, let me grab a shirt, for, okay, this would probably be a good size or whatever. I just went right back into that mode of, oh yeah, man, I remember that shirt didn't fit her or whatever. I'm sitting there like reliving and going back into me getting the shirt for my ex for something that was like happened a year ago that again she's not thinking about at all. So when I told her about it, like that's why I checked me. She was like, really? What made you? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, why? Yeah. Again, small things, but at the same time, nothing wrong with buying somebody a shirt or a souvenir. But my reasoning behind it was me trying to make up for something that I did, like that I figured like that I owed or I didn't finish or didn't do or whatever. I was having endless guilt about the small things. Literally, number 4, signs of poor boundaries. What in the world made me even think of that? You know.
Man.
So
Yeah,
I was like, "Holy crap, Eric, what's going on?"
that's a pretty extreme one.
I mean, I'm extreme. It was a T-shirt at the end of the day, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying. But I don't want it to get extreme. I don't like. Again, it just was a subtle kind of reminder. Yeah, damn, Eric, this is something you struggle with, and it's manifested other like previously in my relationships. That I would have contact with my exes a lot. It's something that I've always done. I never really, cut off exes when we broke up. I was never really too angry at them like that most of the time. So I would still talk to them, see them, and stuff like that. But I realized in this last relationship, hey, that's not necessarily okay, man. That's not normal, and that's not fair. Maybe to the new relationships you're in, you know, if you can't get over this boundary thing, that boundary could cost you, a good relationship. They're not cool with you just being all extra buddy with your exes and all of that. Even though to me it's normal. Why? Because I'm a nice guy. I want to be cool. I want to be nice. I want to be liked. You know. Yeah.
I understand that. But man, that's all I got.
Hold on.
I mean,
Hold on.
for now, I mean, I guess when it comes down to it, it's like boundaries, folks. Just have that open communication with your relationships that you have. See what they're comfortable with, find out what you're comfortable with, and we move.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, absolutely. And again, sounds so simple, but for those like myself who again struggle with it, it's something that have to be cognizant of. I'm glad in the way certain this weekend kind of happened. It jogged my attention with a lot of things that I need to continue to work on, because I'm on the journey with it as well, in therapy actively. Black Men in Therapy, new episode dropping soon. Don't worry, I haven't forgot. Yeah, man. So, did you get something out of this, Mino? You like this episode? I know it was I was like, hey, man, I got this one. I got something for you.
I mean, you always take something away from each episode. We talk about so many different things that we can apply or even been through or know someone that goes through whatever topic we cover. I mean, today, boundaries to me was about what we would think when you think of boundaries, like, don't invade people's personal space
Hmm.
and all that, but it goes deeper than that, I guess. It's opened my eyes to realize that, boundaries is more than just the unwanted physical touches and advances and things of that nature. It's about what you're comfortable with, what the other person is comfortable with, and having that open communication and figure that out. So you don't cross those boundaries, you don't cross those lines to where unwanted arguments and preventative arguments
Mm-hmm.
to happen.
Yep. Because in my mind too, like when I think of boundaries, obviously, like physically, if you think of a boundary, I think of like the road. You got those guardrails on the side of the road. You know, at the end of the day, like okay, if you hit those guardrails, that sucks. But if those guardrails weren't there, you would go over the edge of a cliff or something. You go into the, you know, off road and terrain. It could really hurt yourself. So those things are there, for you to stop things before they go too far, before they go overboard, before you're excessively fatigued, before you're, denying yourself, before you're suppressing yourself, before you're resentful towards others, before you're being passive aggressive. You're trying to, head those things off, man. So glad I did this episode. Again, like I said, I got to listen back to it, myself. What does the preacher say? I'm preaching to myself today. I'm preaching to myself. Yeah, man. So, all right, man. What's the mental health break for the day?
This week, we're going to go with, would you rather have a time machine or be able to teleport, and why?
Ooh, time machine or teleport? Man, definitely time machine, but that's too dangerous. I'm almost scared to say it. That's too dangerous, man. That's that Back to the Future stuff.
Great movie, by the way.
Yeah, man. I'd sports bet myself to $1 billion, like a trillionaire, bro. I know all the sports stuff. Like I can just probably recall off memory like national championships and stuff. Just ran. If you just go back, this looks familiar.
The Vikings are gonna finish 15-1 and lose by a field goal.
Oh wow! See, emotional damage.
Yes.
We need that soundbite, man.
PTSD.
Yeah, for real. So I would definitely choose time machine, no lie. And plus, I'm a history guy, I would want to take pictures and stuff, like prove stuff wrong and all that crap, man.
What are
I would be
some three
terror?
What are the three places you would travel to?
Travel to? Oh man, I'm definitely going. That's crazy. Where would I travel to? I would travel. You know what? Save that for another episode. That's a good one.
They'll be on the Let's Talk About.
Yeah, that's a good one. I need my time. I don't even want to play with you people like that. I'm gonna get y'all out of here. We got a new format, about 40 minutes. Yep. Cause you got my mind thinking with that. All right, so man. So what about you? Teleport or a time machine?
Well, that's a tough one. I would love to have a time machine, but I think for me it would be teleportation. I just like to go places and just be there instantly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't gotta worry about nothing, no traffic, no worries. Just go. Think of it, blink, and I'm gone. I'm there.
Yeah. But what you think about what you just asked is kind of a deep question, because we're asking, would you rather be infinitely in the moment, or would you rather be infinitely in the past? Or infinitely out of the moment, or not infinitely present or not present. That's deep.
Yes, indeed. And we cover topics like this on Monday nights, so y'all can tune
let's
into
talk
that.
about it. CYM, look it up.
But yeah, man, that's all I got for this week.
All right, man. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Consider Your Mind podcast, and we will see you next week. Peace.